He may not know exactly what he's supposed to do. You may have been very vague. You didn't think you were being vague. If you described that same thing to one of your very intuitive girlfriends, she wouldn't think it was vague. He's going to think it's vague. So he may not know exactly what he's supposed to do. And what if he delivered now that he knows? Would you want to waste that opportunity? If he can't or won't deliver, you need to know that too. If you were going on just you were going on a tour, a hiking trip in Colorado, I'm just making this up, and you were going to have a tour guide, and you met up with this tour guide in the parking lot of the park, and there was going to be an all-day hiking thing. You would want to know if you can count on him to walk you through that. You wouldn't just go, well, I just hope this guy knows what he's doing. You'd probably go, how often have you been doing this, and how many clients have you had, and is there some certification that comes with? You would inquire. You would want to make sure that he's going to be able to walk with you and get you back safely. No different with your husband. You need to know where he stands with you and his level of commitment for your sanity and your safety.
So, a quick message to the autistic husbands out there. Your neurotypical wife's feelings are a fact. If she has particular emotion going on inside of her, that emotion is a fact. For example, let's say that she lost her father recently, and she is grief-stricken at the loss of her father. That sense of loss, that feeling of grief, is literally measurable if they were to do a brain scan. So that feeling is a fact. If she says, for example, I'm feeling sad that I don't get some of my intimacy needs met, that feeling is a fact. And you might say, well, Mark, she said, I feel that you don't love me, and I do love her. That's not a fact. You're right. Because if she says, I feel that you don't love me, that's not a feeling. That's a thought. So sometimes she will say, well, I feel such and such, and it's technically not a feeling, it's a thought. So her thoughts are not necessarily facts, but her feelings are, and so are yours. So when she's expressing her feelings, don't view it as, oh, she's so emotional, and oh, that can't be true. You don't feel that way. No, I'm sure she's not lying about her feelings. If she says she feels a certain way and she's actually using an emotion rather than a thought, no, she's not lying. That's what's going on. So when she's talking to you about her feelings, don't chalk it off as just a bunch of psychobabble with no factual basis. If you're feeling a particular way, let's say you're feeling mad at her, and I say, no, you don't feel mad. That's not reality. No, you would say, by God, I am mad, and it is a fact that I'm mad. So you understand now that feelings are facts.
Let's say, for example, we'll use him as the example. He's very argumentative and has to prove that he's right. Okay? That's the negative download. His goal, he never had the thought, I really need some drama and chaos in my life. I would like to spice up the day by starting an argument. And my big goal is to impeach the integrity of my wife so that I can cheapen her to the level such that she will understand that her opinion is worthless. He's not having these kind of thoughts. He feels passionate that he's the one with the truth. That's what's really going on. He goes about it in a very poor fashion. It's very abrasive, yes, I understand for sure. He's so uncooperative. He's so defiant. He's so antagonistic. Those are negative downloads. What's really going on? He has a very strong belief on a particular thing, and he's very courageous in letting you know what it is. He never had the thought, I derive some joy in just whatever my wife wants me to say or do. Gives me a thrill to do the opposite of that. I live for those moments. He's not having that thought. He never had the thought, I want to be just as one-track minded as I can be. I want to be very robotic. I want to kind of be a hologram and just have a one-track mind. So he's not thinking that way. You might think that somehow he's thinking that way, but he's not thinking that way. What it really is that he, with his ASD mind, with the mind blindness, emotions blindness, executive function deficits, and so on, anxiety too, he craves structure, and he's insisting on routine, and he hates change, and he loves to be organized. That's what's going on with this rigidity business here. I understand why you would download it as rigidity and stubbornness and whatever, but that's the negative download. The positive download is he has so much uncertainty in his life and so much unpredictability in his life that he has to create as much predictability as possible, and he goes about it in some very odd ways.
Is there any way you can get out of that shutdown quicker?
Yeah, by knowing what the trigger is ahead of time. Once you've been triggered, you have to then resort to intervention, which is 24 times out of 25 a fail. Intervention, that bullet's already left the gun, and the chances of you grabbing it before it gets more than 10 feet away and putting it back in the barrel is almost impossible. So we have to think in terms of prevention. How do we prevent? I get real good at knowing my triggers, and I make sure she knows what they are. So I never get to the shutdown. That's the whole point of this. We want to prevent even getting there. But once you're there, there's multiple things you could do once you're there. All of these are going to be very watered down strategies at this point once you've already crossed the line. But if you've already launched into a shutdown and you've caught it early, the best thing you can do, twofold, breathe with long exhale. Best version would be like a 3-second inhale and a good 7-8 second exhale. Do that for about 10 times. But right prior to that breathing, you tell her, this is not me. Before this conversation even gets rolling, I'm already feeling triggered right now, and I want you to let you know I'm going to take a time out and just do some deep breathing. This is not a shutdown. I'm not in a good state of mind to handle this conversation right now. I'm not sweeping it under the rug. We will tackle this issue. Right now, I got to go breathe. That particular method that I just mentioned gets a D- on a report card. The A+ method is to do what you got to do such that you never get to the meltdown or shutdown. Because, and I'm not faulting you guys, this is going to sound very sarcastic, you suck at middle meltdown alleviation. When you're already in a meltdown, your track record for being able to back out of that is probably 0%. Once you're majorly triggered such that you are now in a meltdown, have you been ever able to unplug it and calm down quick enough? No, you have not.
So a quick message to neurotypical spouses out there when they're dealing with their autistic spouse's anger, which I'm sure you have experienced that frequently. So when your autistic spouse is going off, which they are known for doing that quite frequently, I want you to calmly say something like, I'm going to go read for a while, or I'm going to go to the store and pick up some milk, and tell him that you'll be back in a little bit. Because when you're trying to engage with him, let's say it's the autistic husband, you're the neurotypical wife, you're trying to engage with him when he's already mad. It's like trying to play with a mad dog. So you need to come up with your plan B. Plan B is I'm going to tactfully disengage. You never want to try to deal with a temper tantrum when it's active. When all is calm, then you can try to help him identify the feeling that he had underneath that anger. Was it fear, frustration, helplessness, hopelessness? If you want to kind of be a compassionate coach, help him find the words to express that feeling. For example, I felt helpless in the situation, or I felt frustrated by your comment, or I felt put down, felt like I was being parented. Ask what was going on back there when you were having a problem, or we were having a problem. So allow him to be brutally honest in these moments where you're kind of doing a post-argument investigation. And it may be hard at first, but it pays off, because once he's learned to do this, he can start to make statements to himself. If it's too difficult for him to express his anger in words, he will have an opportunity to, next time he gets angry, to think, okay, what's going on underneath this anger? Because anger is a surface emotion. Now, the other thing is, most autistic spouses with hot tempers, they will display just as much temper as they can get away with. So if you don't like the temper outburst, then you need to tell your autistic husband that you're simply unwilling to put up with them. Tell him what will happen if he allows his temper to get out of control. What are you going to do? It can't be a hollow boundary. It needs to be a solid boundary. For example, when you scream at me, I'm going to leave the house for a while. I'll come back when you speak to me in a normal voice. And then you have to follow through. You have to set a hard boundary and a consistent hard boundary. Otherwise, he'll just know I can get away with it. There's no big consequence here. The other thing is, don't reinforce your husband's temper when he blasts off by trying to talk him down or try to argue with him, or for God's sake, don't try to explain your opinion on the matter. That's just going to throw gas on the fire. The most you want to say in those moments is, I'll talk to you when you've calmed down. And you may need to wait until you calm down before you come back to talk to him. So, a couple points there about dealing with anger. The big point here is you got to disengage, and you got to begin the business of setting some hard boundaries, because again, he will tend to know that if there's no accountability, no really hard consequence, then I can just keep venting like this. It's not healthy for him, it's not healthy for you, and in too many cases, it's not even safe. Hey guys, this is Mark. Click on the join button underneath any of my videos, then click on members only videos, and then click on join. And for $9.99 a month, you'll have access to members only videos, which are excerpts from previous workshops I've conducted for NT partners, ASD partners, and the neurodiverse couple. New videos will be uploaded weekly.